So after we had so much fun talking about the best male and female costumes in the MCU and the DCEU, I decided to make this an ongoing series because why should the fun stop there? So today I'm going to share my list with you of the top 10 villains in the MCU and the DCEU, and I hope you'll share your own lists down below in the comments section. Now, I'm sure this choice of category makes some MCU fans out there, hardcore MCU fans, a little nervous because it's no secret at this point that the MCU has some crappy and forgettable villains. I mean, seriously, do you remember any of these guys? But take heart, hardcore MCU fans, because through sheer volume, I mean, there have been so many Marvel movies at this point in comparison to just 3 from the DCEU, you still dominate the list, 6-4. Now, speaking of villains, this episode is brought to you by Best Fiends, which has just launched the latest game in their trilogy, Best Fiends Forever. Now, over 50 million people have downloaded the first highly rated game, Best Fiends, and now you can download the sequel today, right now, for free, via the link in the video description. And as you can see, it has some actually pretty impressive cartoon graphics. You'll slap your phone silly as you collect and level up like crazy. You've found your new addiction. You can also, by the way, compete with friends. Evil Fiend laugh. Again, it's available for free right now to download via the link in the video description, and it really is a pretty awesome game, amazing graphics. Again, you can interconnect with friends, and again, free. Check it out. All right, now let's get started. Oh, and by the way, to qualify, villains must have appeared in a film that has already been released. Sorry, Deathstroke fans, because otherwise he actually would have been pretty high on this list because he's so popular already. Get excited, Joe Manganiello, and believe me, it seems that he is. All right, so number 10, Lex Luthor. Yes, he made the list. Sure, he's having an identity crisis. He doesn't know if he's a Superman villain or if he's a Batman villain. I think he actually leans more towards Batman villain. But come on, that Granny's Peach tea sequence? Legendary. When I was watching it, I couldn't believe it was happening. It was not only pretty darn creative, and he actually followed through on a threat, which is very rare for comic books, right? Effectively, no less. But he sacrificed his own assistant, a classic comic book character. Well, she did start out in the animated series, but still, Mercy Graves. I think a lot of us, when we were watching that scene, we're like, no, it can't be. Mercy's in there. Oh my God. Lex doesn't like to share the spotlight, though. I guess that's one of the reasons he wanted to get rid of her. So I am very curious to see what happens when he inevitably meets Jared Leto's Joker. That is going to be a really crazy scene, because I think that Lex Luthor is to some degree playing a variation on the Joker. Is he though? I mean, sure, he's annoying, but this is the age of Jobs and Zuckerberg, and I think that's totally the point of this version of Lex Luthor. I see it, but in the theatrical cut. I gotta say, I side with some of you on the Ultimate Edition, but he's still number 10. All right, number 9, Alexander Pierce, because Kevin Feige got frickin' Robert Redford to not only do a comic book movie, but to be the villain. Who cares if Robert Redford totally spilled the beans a few months early in an interview, right? He's new to this. He doesn't understand the importance of secrecy. I mean, would Sigourney Weaver be playing a villain in The Defenders if not for Robert Redford? He was the first domino, and I think that's really important. All right, number 8, General Ross, who almost didn't make this list. But you know why he did? Because he's a survivor. I mean, you're talking about a character who went from being the villain in one of the first and like totally forgettable MCU films because it's the least successful, like by a long shot, and it's on the cusp of continuity. Not even really. I mean, technically it is, but not really, because Edward Norton quit/got fired. But the guy rallied, and now he's not only the Secretary of State, but he used politics to take down the Avengers. Plus, that's an awesome jacket. And also, let's not forget that he could become the Red Hulk, and just the very fact that that's in the wings for the character makes him a villain to watch. All right, number 7, Arnim Zola, who can't wear a jacket because he turned himself into a computer. I mean, wow. I think he deserves a spot on this list just for that. He turned himself into a living computer back in the 70s when this is how computers looked, right? It's not like today. So I wrote in my notes that that's right, Ultron, Zola did it first. Now, Some say that he was killed when that bunker was blown up, but as Ultron, again, and Skynet, and as any AI knows, technology finds a way. All right, number 6, Faora, who is actually not the only female villain on this list. Represent. And so while she had the thankless female second in command, is she dating the lead male villain role? She also single-handedly made Man of Steel memorable with her spectacular fight on Smallville's Main Street against the Man of Steel. It was a wonder to behold. I went to see that movie for the press screening, and then I had to go again for Father's Day. My dad really wanted to see it, and this was like what I was looking forward to seeing again the most. I was like, I thought that Man of Steel had severe pluses and severe minuses, but at the end of the day, the real entertainment factor came from that fight. And let's not forget that she's still in the Phantom Zone, so she could return someday. And she's going to be so upset when she finds out what the U.S. government let Lex do to Zod's body. Oh, so sacrilegious. All right, number 5, Loki. Yeah, he's pretty far down on the list. And I put him here, I actually would have put him even further down, but he's here because of respect. Because he used to be a really big deal when the MCU first started. He's like our first villain. He's that goth guy in high school that you had like a huge crush on, but then when you look back at the yearbook, you're like, what was I thinking? I also think that his Taylor Swift fake romance didn't really work out so well, and to think he like totally did it, I think, just for publicity purposes, but it super blew up in his face. Just ask the Bond producers, who said, yeah, no. And so, although his Comic-Con appearance, remember that? That's just legendary. That really was amazing. And so he'll always be one of our first villains, even though I think he's having a hard time these days keeping up. All right, number 4, Amanda Waller. A lot of people in Suicide Squad didn't make this list because, as many have pointed out, they're actually not that evil. But Waller sure is. I mean, she shot several of her employees point blank, right? Instead of rescuing them, right? That was horrible. She earned the name Puppet Master by doing that to Rick Flag and June Moon. And she planted bombs in prisoners' necks, which she fully intended to detonate if needed. And one guy even did get his head blown off, right? And if Waller, even though she didn't push the button, she still built it. And the entire mission of the movie in Suicide Squad was to rescue her, because Amanda Waller feels that she's the only one who has it takes to truly get the job done. And because she's the only one that matters, no one else does. And that makes her so dangerous. Plus, did you see her eat that steak? It was amazing. They say keep your friends close and your enemies closer, which is why I think Bruce Wayne has struck up a relationship with Amanda Waller. Plus, they do both like to keep extensive files and contingency plans for everyone they know. Now, speaking of being organized and getting stuff done, number 3 is, just Zemo. He used to be Baron Zemo in the comics. Now he's just Zemo. And he's the only villain in the MCU to successfully execute his plan. And he did indeed break up the Avengers and make Captain America give up his mantle, at least for now, all while wearing a sweater and khakis. It's amazing. And Lex Luthor might brag about his intricate plans, but Zemo's plan was very simple. I mean, even just like the EMP delivery, that was so great. But he, at the end of the day, get the footage of Bucky murdering Tony Stark's parents and then play it for Tony Stark. And it was incredibly effective. The gut-wrenching fight that resulted from Zemo's plan was just amazing to behold. Thanks, I think, in large part to Robert Downey Jr.'s acting. By the way, I did consider having Steve Rogers and Tony Stark being like the biggest threats to the MCU and maybe put them on this list, but it's more complicated than that. We're not going to go into the gray zone, all right? So yeah, I think that Waller might have some competition for the title of the name Puppet Master. All right, so number 2, Joker and Harley Quinn. The couple that murders Robin together does time together. Yeah, I almost put Harley Quinn as an anti-hero because I think that's definitely the direction that she's moved in recently. However, when I remembered that she helped murder Robin, I don't really think she can qualify for anti-hero status, right? I mean, that's pretty unforgivable, especially if they ever show it, and I wonder if they ever will. I mean, mostly with the exception of the Return of the Joker, the Batman Beyond movie, Harley Quinn is kind of like Stockholm Syndrome, right? I mean, she always has some ability to kind of cop out of any real culpability for what the Joker does, right? But that, I mean, that kind of, I think, closes the door on making her an anti-hero. Or does it? Because I bet some of you would disagree with me. And that's what makes this Joker and Harley Quinn so dangerous, because they're just so popular. They're the Brad and Angelina of comic book villains, complete with all the drama. Just so incredibly popular and preferred to many heroes after the portrayal in Suicide Squad. So that's why they're number 2. But number 1 is Hydra, because it's the villainy that launched a million memes. That's brand recognition right there, and that's very valuable. See, Hydra is number 1 because it's an idea, and it's very hard to kill an idea. Plus, it's very hard to find an idea. It can be thought by anyone, anywhere, and you wouldn't know it, right? Also, while Thanos is supposed to be the big bad in the MCU, when you look back at the movies, all those movies, look at what Hydra's actually done, right? Instead of just being this big villain promised in the future. Hydra created the Winter Soldier. Hydra killed Tony Stark's parents. Hydra infiltrated, and then when they were discovered, brought down S.H.I.E.L.D. Hydra created Quicksilver and the Scarlet Witch. Hydra created Crossbones. And then, years later, decades later, that whole Winter Soldier Tony Stark's parents situation created Civil War, right? Now, apparently Hydra has been a real pain in the butt to the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. over on ABC. There's been a lot of activity there. When I was doing my research for this episode, there was like cha-chunk, so much like Hydra history on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And I was like, oh man. But anyway, at the end of it, they were like, and then S.H.I.E.L.D. won. And I was like, what? So apparently Hydra's been defeated, but I don't really think you can kill an idea. And I think that Hydra was so effective that I'd like to see it come back. Everybody loves a good old secret society. All right, so those are my top 10 villains in the MCU and the DCEU. I'll be very curious to hear your lists down below. Again, there are some really forgettable Marvel villains out there, so if you can find a way to justify putting them on your list, get creative by all means. But that's my top 10. And so thank you so much for watching, and also suggest topics for the next MCU versus DCU episode. Thank you so much, and you can check out some more episodes right now.